Hey friends, this is my first Division 2 build video and I wanted to bring you something special. So this is a DPS build exclusive for team play. At least one more agent will do as long as he is with the right build. I've used this build to speedrun legendary strongholds and to farm old gear on Summit Legendary. You can totally use this build to capture control points, do convoys and whatnot, but the problem is you're going to be doing so much damage that you're not going to see your full potential before you kill everything. So I would recommend to use it exclusive on legendaries and with a group. That's important. The more people, the better. Let's take a look at the build. Right off the bat, you see one thing that can be odd: vigilance and intimidate. Excuse me, sir, you can't proc intimidate in this build. You're right, I can't, but my teammates can. Remember when I said to use this build you'll need a group? That's why. Now, truth be told, you can totally use obliterate and you'll be fine. You'll do a lot of damage. But from my testing, this setup, it's better. Give this a try and let me know. The build itself. There's nothing here that is crazy off meta. Chances are you probably used this setup before, or at least the pieces. Coyote's Mask, 3 pieces Providence, Fox's Prayer, and Grupo Sombra. I would say it's pretty standard for DPS builds. But let's quickly go to the parts. So the mask is the Coyote's Mask, and I'm gonna be utilizing just the first buff, 0 to 15 minutes from an enemy. We're gonna be gain 25% crit damage and our teammates too, so it's a buff that goes to the group. That's very important. The chest is Grupo Sombra, weapon damage and crit damage, crit chance, and a mod crit damage. The talent, it's very well known. It's that sweet amplified damage by 35%. That's huge. You need bonus armor, by the way, to proc this. The holster is our first piece of Providence. Pretty standard, weapon damage, crit chance. The knee pads are almost a no-brainer for DPS builds because it also gives us that multiplicative damage. It's the same kind of damage of our chest talent. Damage to targets out of cover is amplified damage. So that's the type of damage that you want in your build. And I went with a core attribute roll to armor to help us shield. The gloves are our second piece of Providence, and I also went with armor. Ideally, you want either headshot damage and crit damage, or weapon handling and crit damage, but this is the only one that I got, so this will do. And finally, the backpack. It's the only piece that can give you some problems to farm because it's a DZ exclusive item. It's the gift, but don't worry, you can totally use the normal version and you'll be fine. The difference is one more second on the cooldown. So on this backpack, the gift, if you take damage, and it's important to note that damage you read by melee damage or a shot. When someone applies a status effect at you, it won't disable vigilance. You'll see later on the clips, the build in action. So the difference is 1 more second on a cooldown. A lot of people doesn't realize that the status effect, shock, foam doesn't disable bleeding, doesn't disable vigilance. And my skills are the striker shield, that is exclusive of the firewall specialization, so make sure to activate that, and the weapon tree. So the reason that I went with the striker shield, I know a lot of people don't like shields in this game, but hear me out here. It's for the extra 12% weapon damage for every enemy that is in front of the light of the shield. And it goes for our teammates too, so that is huge. Like, think about it. If you have 5 enemies in front of you, that equals to 60% extra weapon damage. That is huge. So that's why I am using the striker shield in this build. And my secondary skill is the jammer pulse. It's only to control, it's more to control mini tanks and warhounds, because they can be quite annoying. Mini tanks in particular, they do crazy damage. So I can use my jammer pulse and give my team a nice 3-second window to melt them down. It's more than enough, 3 seconds, you'll see. And finally, I want to elaborate a bit more on my main weapon. So I never really swap to the secondary or the side weapon, so you can use whatever you want here. But the main weapon has to be the Chameleon. So the Chameleon, you probably are quite familiar. It's an assault rifle, an exotic assault rifle, quote unquote, but it acts more like an SMG. And the talent, like, you can read by yourself here, but let me rephrase it for you. Adaptive Stinks. It's basically a perfect finisher, this part, with 6 extra weapon damage attributes for your build, and fast hands, a better version of fast hands in my opinion, because you don't have to build the stacks all over again on every reload. Once you hit 30 leg shots, the Chameleon version of fast hands will remain active for 45 seconds and refreshes out of combat, as you can read. So that's, in my eyes, it's a better version, a more consistent version than fast hands. And towards the end of the video, I'm gonna show you the other builds, and the other builds are my recommendation to run with this particular Chameleon build. But let's take a look at what this build can do. Right, we are at District Union Arena, Legendary. We are about to go to the second room, the room that has 3 changers. So let's see what's gonna happen. Alright, gonna boost those guys. For some reason they didn't get foam, but that's fine. Okay, right there. These are pretty normal numbers, right? 600k for DPS build with the Chameleon, that's nothing crazy, but watch this. 1.6 million, 2.6 right there already. But that's important to note that all this damage doesn't come only from my Chameleon. All my team is buffing me, and I'm buffing my teammates as well. But let's see. That's group gameplay, right? 2.5 right there. Okay, say goodbye to that guy. Now here we go, the best part. And this is where this build shines. Against Chungus, Warhounds and mini tank, because the Chameleon is an AR, it comes with health damage, which helps to melt Chungas, mini tanks, and Warhounds. They don't have armor, it's only health, so it helps a lot. As you saw, that's 2 million per crit, and the number could go even higher. Look how fast they melt. It doesn't last like 1 minute, less than 1 minute actually, like 30 seconds more. Feel like it was like 30 seconds. Okay, say goodbye, and another Chungus. There's 2 million per crit right there with the Chameleon. You can put whatever AR that you want in this build, and nothing will come close to the damage output of the Chameleon. Right, the second clip that I'm gonna show you, it's almost halfway on the stronghold. So I'm going right. I'm gonna post this, guys, and watch this. 6K, 600K, 1 million already, 1.2, 1.3. Now watch this. This is the reason that I went with 2 core attributes. So if I was full damage all red build, my shield would be destroyed right now. And it's important to keep the shield active, not for survivability, like I said, it's more for damage, because every enemy, like I said, that it's highlighted in this light, it's gonna give me extra weapon damage. So 1.1 is the sweet spot, in my opinion. It's not worth it to go higher than 1.3 million. Like, you can put one more core attribute, one more armor core attribute on your build, and you'll be fine, but not more than 3. So 1.1 is the sweet spot that I found with all my testing. It's not worth it to go full damage all red build, because in every room your shield is gonna be melted and you're gonna lose a lot of damage, and your teammates as well, because remember, they are buffing you and you are buffing them, so it's important to keep the shield active. And spoiler alert, of course my shield is gonna be destroyed here, but look at the damage. 2.3 right there. 1.7, the Chung is gonna take my shield, but the fight is over. I'm gonna show this room as well, and it's not a big deal if you lose your shield once in a while. It's only 18 seconds cooldown. The problem is, if you go all red, you're gonna lose your shield pretty much every room, and that's a problem. But let's see this room. This room also has 3 Chungas. Okay, post those guys. Almost 1k already. 1 million, I mean. 1 million crits, excuse me. And like I said, this part is where this build shines, to melt Chungas. Okay, and another point that I wanna bring your attention. So remember when I said that this build is for team play exclusively? And this is one of the reasons. I'm gonna show you the other builds that my friends are using. But spoiler alert, there's 2 Patriot among them. And one of the buffs and that 2 Patriot does have is armor regen. So this guy almost killed me. Almost. But watch how much armor I'm gonna leave this room. So he almost killed me. And another point that I want to bring your attention. You see that I'm bleeding here, but vigilance is active. I don't know if you guys know this, but status effect applied to you doesn't disable vigilance. Only when you take damage from a melee or a weapon that its vigilance is disabled. That is a nice trick right there. So it doesn't matter if you're bleeding. Vigilance, it will be active. But let's see the numbers. It's 1 million already. 1.2, 1.3, and watch the Chungus. It's like 15 seconds fight with those 3 Chungus. One is down. And watch my armor. I don't have any armor regen at all in this build. And I left a room with more than half. That's how good Tool Operator is for team gameplay in this game. Yeah, right there. It's pretty good, right? Now let's quickly show the other builds. Okay, the first build is a standard Anti-Fury build with the Scorpion. The twist is the talent on the backpack, Galvanize. Galvanize gives the player, the user, and the team bonus armor. So that's our first source of proc Intimidate. 40% armor when the enemy gets shocked or confused, which both status effects are applied by the Scorpion. The second build is Eclipse for crowd control. It's a 4-piece Eclipse, obviously, and Creeping Death on the backpack. And it's important to note that when this guy applies status effect, that gives the team bonus damage. So one of the sources of our extra damage comes from this guy. And finally, we are using a tank, a 2 Patriot tank with Vanguard that procs Intimidate for us, and Opportunist on the backpack that's amplified damage 10% on every enemy that is marked. And 2 Patriot, we're not gonna dive into 2 Patriot, but it's an insane gear set, especially for team gameplay, because it gives the team so much buffs, and it also debuffs the enemies as well. That's amplified damage, armor regen, and so on. And because he is using the survivalist specialization and the Scorpion applies status effect to the enemy, that's another source of extra damage. So these are the builds that I recommend to use along with the Chameleon build. Did you like what you saw? This is a lot of damage. You'll see here from almost 80k to like almost 3 million per crit. That is insane. But I'm not gonna lie, there are like a lot of weakness in this build, and the most is, in a lot of ways, this build will restrict your team play, your team builds. I mean, excuse me, because you need at least 2 more agents giving constant bonus armor. So that alone is going to restrict a lot of the talents that people can use. But as you saw, there is a lot of damage in this build. Give this a try with your friends. I promise you're gonna dominate Legendary. I don't really recommend to use this build on Roosevelt, by the way. So it's a super specific build for District Union Arena and Capitol Building. Give this a try and let me know what you think. And that's all. I hope you have a fantastic day and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.